Every time someone builds a deck in Claude, it looks a little bit different. It might have the wrong font, wrong colors, the wrong logo placement, and that inconsistency can be a real problem, especially if you're trying to have consistent design. The fix to this is a design folder. Today I'm going to show you how to set one up and then watch Claude Cowork build a perfectly on-brand representation in about 60 seconds. And while you could use Claude Design, creating a great folder system can move beyond the Claude ecosystem to other tools you're using, and it's also just quicker and faster to set up. So here's my folder setup within my Claude folder on my desktop. We're going to set up your Claude Design folder in just a couple minutes. Within my projects, I have This Week in AI. This is where I have projects that focus on helping me with the docket, building out the newsletter that we're starting, helping me with that post-show content, and making these demos. But the one folder I really want to point you to is the design folder. Here I have all the different logos that we use, as well as some screenshots of the vibe that we're going for This Week in AI. I was lucky enough to have Scott Bair from Lunar, which I'll link below, create the visual language that we use for This Week in AI. But you can just put in here any screenshots that you like, any branding that you use, whether it's screenshots from your website, colors, to create a design guide, but you can just drop in any screenshots that you take from your website, from competing brands that you like, and drop them in the design folder for your Cowork agent to use. But the real unlock in the design folder isn't the images, isn't the logos, it's the design.md file that I had Claude make for me. After I dropped in all these assets, I pointed my Claude Cowork into this folder. I did that by creating a new task and then clicking work in a project and selecting the This Week in AI project folder. Where you point your Cowork is where it's going to work out of and what context it's going to use while it's doing stuff for you. So you may be wondering, what is a design.md? Once you have it pointed into that folder with the assets all in there, all you have to say is create a design.md based on the files that are currently based in the design folder. You can also tell it some personal preferences to add to the design.md file. As an example, you could say, for the design.md file, I add that I really don't like when it's a dark background. I typically like a white background with dark text. I also don't want things to be too crowded. I definitely prefer simplicity. Once that's done, I'll click send. And a few minutes later, it came back with the design.md file. It had the typography I like to use, the name, the logos, the visual language that I like, and even some preferences, which are light mode for presentations, as I just mentioned before. And now that I have this all set up with a Claude.md file, which is basically a .md file that explains to Claude whenever it looks into this folder what's in here, I'm ready to go and get to designing. So I'll go back into Cowork, click new task, select the This Week in AI folder, and type in my prompt. Using